So today is going to be one of those ramble all over the place kind of videos. Wanted to share some of my thrift store finds, my recent thrift store finds, and they're a bit of a mixed bag. And I hope that by sharing my thrift store finds, it opens up a conversation that I noticed is going around a little bit. It's a conversation that comes around and goes around, and it's very interesting. It is when people decide to change their path. People are known for certain things, and that's what their YouTube channel or their blog or whatever has always been about. And if they decide to go a different way, there's always those people who will feel hurt by it, or feel disappointed by it, and then there's the people who will feel betrayed, and then there's the people themselves who are experiencing this change of heart or this change of path, change of belief, that feel obliged to apologize, feel obliged to explain, and I don't know. I think that everything in life is fluid, including spirituality, and I think it's important for us all to be flexible with ourselves and allow ourselves to just go with the flow of whatever path we're on and wherever it takes us, and to not feel like we need to explain to other people. It's enough that it's enough the pressures of having to explain any kind of change of life, or change of spirituality, or change of philosophy, or change of any kind of major change in your own life to people that are closest to you, who are in your IRL, in your real life. You don't owe people on the internet an explanation of anything. So I'm just saying, I'm just putting this out there. However, by the same token, if you want to share your revelation, share your epiphany, share your change, share your growth, well, that's wonderful, and I think it's also very brave. So yeah, that's all I have. That's me vaguely just covering some thoughts I had about some videos I've been seeing lately. People leaving or stopping producing certain content, or starting to produce new content. I think as long as you're true to yourself, that's really what matters. At the end of the day, you have to feel good about what you see in the mirror, or who you need to feel good about the reflection in your mirror. And if you're a content creator on YouTube, well, YouTube is also your mirror. You have to feel good about what you put out there. You have to be able to watch your content and still feel good about it. And if you don't, nothing prevents you from deleting your videos. If you're watching an old video that you feel you don't resonate with anymore, you are under no obligation to leave that out there. Honestly, just take it down. Just like I remember when I was younger, a very wise adult told me, this was back in the days where you took pictures with a camera, you got them developed, and you didn't know what you were going to get, right? And you thought that was a really nice picture, and you get it, and it's like, oh my God, you look like a mutant. So you thought you took a good picture of yourself, or someone took a good picture of yourself, and you look like a mutant. Or in your opinion, you look like a mutant. And this adult told me, you are under no obligation to keep any photograph of yourself that makes you unhappy, uncomfortable. No. Just because the picture was taken doesn't mean, and you paid for it to have it developed, doesn't mean you have to keep it if it causes you discomfort, anguish, whatever. And it's the same thing with any kind of content that you create on the internet. So there. That's all I had to say about that. All right. So let's talk a little bit about my what I've been up to this, I guess, mostly this past weekend. I've been very busy, but you know, kind of putzing around. Like, you know, I've been very busy doing fun things, right? So I finally completed my witch, and if you, to get the full effect, I did post a before and after picture of her. I made her apron, and she has this like rope, this like jute like belt. And then I got her doing a knot spell. How cool is that? Look at her hands. They look very busy, very powerful. I embellished her hat. She's Helga. She's been renamed. Well, she's been finally named. I knitted the shawl. I crocheted the apron. It was a whole thing. It took me a while. I didn't have the vision right away of who she was, or of who she is. And when I finally understood who she is, then her whole look came together yesterday. And I finished knitting her shawl and did all the embellishment. Yeah, did the embellishment on her hat and the whole thing. I also happened to find in one of my in my crystal cabinet, which doesn't contain like fancy old-fashioned crystal. It contains stuff like this. I found this little guy. I don't know how long I've had him, and he just is gazing up at her with adoration. Look at that, just perfect. So yeah, his name is Freddie Mercury. Actually, it's Freddie Mercury retrograde, Freddie M retrograde, but I forgot to type that out on Instagram. I know, I'm a child. Doesn't matter. This kind of stuff is good for the soul. So yeah, so this is Helga, and she's Helga the Hedge Witch. And now I'm going to have to find a proper spot for her to sit, because I used to have her on a high shelf, and now that she's finished, I'm going to need her somewhere a little more visible. So that's what I did yesterday. I also packed up some parcels that I was sending overseas, so I'm pretty excited about that, and sent them on their way. Then I popped into Value Village, which is Canadian Savers, and I say this every time, right? But it's a thrift store. On a hunch. It's like I don't go in there all the time. It's like I'll get this idea and say, oh, you know what? I want to go today. And then I walk in and I typically find something that I don't even know I'm looking for. And this visit, I found two things. Well, no, yesterday's visit I found one thing, and then earlier this week I popped into a different one and I found something. So I'll start with earlier this week. Earlier this week, I scored this beautiful St. Joseph statue. It's like a resin kind of, it's almost like a rubbery kind of material. It's made in Italy. I really like it. It has good heft, but it's also, I'm certain that if I, it's kind of rubbery, so if I dropped it, it would be perfectly safe from breaking. And then the other thing I scored, and so this was earlier this week, and I was pretty excited about that. And then yesterday I walked into the thrift store, and this is the first thing I found. Now, someone I love dearly had this on a shelf in their kitchen my whole childhood. And they had gotten it they had gone on a trip to Italy with my dad, and they had brought this back. So for me, since the veil is thin and these people are gone, to me this was a hello from people, from the person who had this in their kitchen and my dad at the same time. It reminded me of the both of them. So the other thing I scored yesterday at the same time as, this is the statue of La Pietà by Ruggieri. So it's a reproduction, like a little souvenir of this giant statue that is in Rome. Okay. Another book, the other thing I came across was The Parables of Peanuts. I love peanuts, especially vintage peanuts, and this is from 1968. Okay, so now I'm going, oh, and the other two things is, I've been wanting a drum for a pretty long time, and I think I'm getting closer because look at this cute little thing. Has a little handle. So I'm getting closer. I'm gonna find the drum next time. And then this stuff, yarn. And I love finding these, especially yarn colors that are not currently on trend. I'm working on a blanket, a striped blanket, 1970s color palette. So this will suit it perfectly. But I also think it'll be perfect for making a bag for my Raven's Prophecy tarot. So yeah, there's that. So when I get stuff from the thrift store, some people have asked me, especially things that are like, you know, saint statues, pretty much anything. What I usually do is I wipe, even books, I wipe everything down with an unscented baby wipe with a few drops of Florida water in it. It cleans the dirt off and the dust or whatever, and then also cleanses the energy right off of it, and things instantly feel mine. So that's what I do. So I showed you a witch, and I showed you La Pietà, and I showed you Saint Joseph, and I showed you the parables of peanuts. For me, I think the thought I wanted to share was that I don't believe in labeling. I know a lot of people don't like this. A lot of people that I know, very close friends, will not like this. But I don't believe in labeling a person's beliefs. I don't believe in needing to label your spirituality or needing to fit it into some slot of organized religion. I left organized religion when I was 12 years old. I left organized religion because it did not, the church did not match everything I loved about Catholicism. And it didn't include a lot of things that I loved that were outside of Catholicism. And that's the most simplest way for me to describe it. But I haven't taken such a hard line. Like, you know, I'm not going to talk about like trauma from growing up in a certain religion and stuff like that, because come on, we all have some kind of trauma in our lives. My whole freaking childhood was traumatic, so I'm not going to go into that. That would be like, that would not be constructive. But what I can tell you is this: there is beauty in things. There's beauty in organized religion that you can take out of it and make it your own. And you know, now there's like, this is a hard line thing. You are either a member of an organized religion or you are not. But that is a choice, and you don't have to belong to a club you don't want to belong to. That doesn't mean that you can't. So you suppose a club. There's a club that bakes cookies and has that celebrates every Wednesday, and suppose you love to bake cookies and celebrate every Wednesday with a live band. But you really don't care to belong to that club because there's things in that club that do not suit you, that do not fit you. Or that club doesn't want you because you don't fit what their club members are supposed to look like or be like. What do you give a shit? Bake your cookies and celebrate on Wednesday with your live band. That's what I'm trying to explain, and I'm probably not doing a good job at. But what I'm saying is that take the beauty, take the things that are beautiful, the things that are meaningful, the things that you love, and keep them. There's no reason why you cannot keep them and incorporate them in your life. So if you are, if you love Jesus and you also love tarot cards, sorry, if you love Jesus and you also love your tarot cards, love Jesus and love your tarot cards. If you love the god Hades and you love Saint Anthony, then love them and maintain your relationships with them. That's pretty much what I wanted to share on that subject. So, and this is coming from a person who, if you know anything about me, the tagline of Italian folk magic is the sacred and the profane. The whole point, Italian folk Catholicism, Italian folk magic marries both the sacred and the profane, and it's unapologetic, and there is no conflict. And this is why I come from a place where if I know someone who is pagan and they've discovered that if they've discovered the Blessed Virgin and they have a burgeoning relationship with her, that's fantastic. That doesn't make them less pagan. To me, there is no conflict, because religion is man-made with man-made rules. So what I'm trying to say is that you're always welcome at my house. I don't care, as long as you're not hurting anybody, as long as you're not killing anybody, as long as you're not sacrificing animals, people. You hear what I'm saying, right? You're always welcome. I will always welcome you. But what I will not welcome is when people pit one thing against the other, where I'm this now and everything else is evil. Well, no, just I'm this now and I don't care about that. How's that? You know? But anyway, let's talk about something else, because I'm probably not even making sense right now, because I prepare, but I don't write anything down, and I don't even know where I am right now and what I was saying. So, decks that I'm using. Oh, a deck mod that I did this week. So, it's funny. I intended to modify one oracle deck, and instead I ended up modifying another one. So, it has its beautiful Peggy bag. Hashtag Peggy bag. And it's this one. It's the Mystical Shaman Oracle. I'm really enjoying this oracle more than as much as I thought I would when I first pre-ordered it, put it on my wish list for pre-order, and then didn't buy it for like forever and ended up trading for it. This is what I did. I edged it with the same colors on the backs. So it does, that's what it does. So it's and I went according to the percentage of that color on the back of the card. So I did it like 60% this, and then there's some green, there's some splash of red, there's some splash of like this rusty brown, and this is what it looks like. It looks a lot more yellow than it is. It's not. It's actually this color here. Yeah, I was pretty happy that I got a perfect match for all four colors that appear on the backs, and I just love the way it looks. Right, that satisfaction. The deck looks finished when you edge it. And there's always that satisfaction of when you edged it exactly the way you wanted it. So that was my deck modification that I did this week. What I intended to what I don't know, I haven't decided yet. This guy. So I'm going to use this guy starting today. I'm going to use it for a full week to see what I think of what I think of it still. So it's still intact. I haven't done anything to it. The idea is to trim it so that it removes the keyword and leaves the title. Haven't done it yet. And remove both borders. Like, I'm not going to leave this up, the skinny outer border. So yeah, it's this time of year. You've seen these cards. I'm sure everybody's showing these cards on their channel. I see them everywhere on YouTube. When I hear how much people love them and how deep they are and how profound they are, I feel like I'm on the outside looking in, like through the window, trying to figure out what it is that I'm missing, like what's wrong with me, or like what is it about me that I'm just not finding these profound at all. But I'll give them this week. I'll give them another chance, and I'll see how I feel about them. And if I warm up to them a little bit this week, then I'll do the full modification. If not, then I'll have to admit defeat, and I'll have to pass them on. The decks I've been using this week. So yesterday, the month of October. The month of October, I've been using my Raven's Prophecy tarot, and this, I mentioned it before, this was not love at first sight. This was like weirded out at first sight. This was like, oh, I don't even know what to do with these, and they're in my top 5 for sure, favorite tarot decks. Firmly in the top 5, probably top 3. And every time I use them, I discover something new about them. The others, so I pulled out now my Halloween tarot. This is the first ever deck modification I ever did. It's clumsy. It's got like these notches, these little tiny notches going across, because I did 2 cuts with the scissor and it was a dollar scissor that I had, and now I use like long shears, like sewing shears that I get at the dollar store, and it's just 1 cut and it's beautiful. But so I love that these have these little notches. I rounded it with the smallest corner rounder, not to lose too much. And what happened was I trimmed it looking on the card side, so the backs had some white left, so I covered whatever white, little tiny strands of white were left randomly around certain cards, so I blackened that with Sharpie. So okay, I'm showing you the cards upside down. So I pulled these out today to now use all week. Now for me, this is where there's probably other people out there, but for me, October is a lead up. I love October. I love the weather in October. But the actual day of Halloween or Samhain, for me, is not the end of the month of the holiday. Like, oh my God. Okay. What I'm trying to say is that for me, it begins. So for me, Halloween / Samhain starts my month of veneration of the dead. So for me, November is a very introspective, it's a holy month for me. It's that's the month where for me the veil is in fact the thinnest. It starts to thin in October, but for me it's like once we cross into November 2nd, well then November 2nd being when we're, how I grew up, the feast day, the Day of the Dead, all All Souls Day. So November 1st is All Saints, November 2nd is All Souls, and then the entire month of November up until, I would say, the all of November, that is still Scorpio. That is the time that I practice my veneration of the dead, and veneration, you know what I mean, as I pray for the dead. I do a lot of spirit communication, a lot of that kind of work, right? And then around the time where we switch to Sagittarius, it's a natural thing that's come over many years of practice of my spiritual practice, where I found that November, starting with Halloween, Samhain, and into November is when I went even deeper and deeper into my spiritual practice with spirits, and it just has this it just resolves itself naturally around when the sun switches to Sagittarius. So I'll be working with this deck this week, just because it's cute. And then the oracle I've been working with since the October 1st has been this one, Raven's Wand Oracle. So this is by Stephen Hutton, and he both wrote the guidebook. He does the art for all these beautiful, beautiful oracle cards, and he's the author of books, novels that this oracle is based on, and Dark Raven Chronicles trilogy. Now, I haven't been able to get my hands on the Dark Raven Chronicles trilogy, but I have to say one thing. I did read the first book in the series by Maggie Stiefvater, and I didn't need to use this tarot deck. This tarot deck stands on its own. This oracle deck, I thought that I would not find it as useful without knowing the story that these characters are from. But I've changed my mind after working with it for, look at the art, oh my god. I know there's tons of walkthroughs on this deck on YouTube. I thought that I would not enjoy, or that I wouldn't get out of this oracle much without knowing the stories that these characters are, like knowing these characters within the stories, within their stories. But it turns out that no, there's enough in the guidebook. The guidebook kind of tells you a little bit about the character in the card. So take this one, Piercing the Mist. So it tells you, so in the guidebook, it tells you a bit about what you're, and I also find the reversed meaning interesting. So take, oh my god, okay, let's try to do this. So, Lilac Bee Sweet places flowers to remember her friend, wishing he was close by. She doesn't realize that he's right beside her, watching in spirit, because grief has clouded all, even the sun. However, just like the sun struggling to break through, hope lives even in despair, even if it seems remote and veiled. The light of the sun will eventually pierce the mist, and then the scale of our pain becomes visible. The pain might be vast, but it is not infinite. It will have an end and an escape. So that is like the paragraph. So it tells you what's going on in the card, and you can take something from that. Then it has a reversed meaning. Each card has a reversed meaning. See how the pine trees, the standing stones, and even the candle flames all reach towards the sun. They surge towards it, leaving a path through the mist. Similarly, in times of grief, The only way out is to push ahead. Press onwards and resist the temptation to linger or meander in the fog of loss. So even the reversed meanings on these cards are not just the opposite. I find that the reversed meanings take you deeper into the observation of the scene and the card and its application. So these were a pleasant surprise because, let's be honest, they're freaking stunning. They're stunning. They're so beautiful. And I would have been really disappointed if I couldn't get out of them what I needed for an oracle deck without having read the books, because I haven't been able to locate the books here locally and nor online. So yeah, I pulled this card sometime this week and it was very apropos, but it's just visually stunning. I don't know if you can see that. It's not really focusing, but yeah. So I am enjoying this deck I'm enjoying this oracle very, very much, and we'll see when I give that Halloween oracle another whirl what I think of it. But I don't know. I don't have high hopes for it but I hope it surprises me, because, you know, it would make me sad to have to add it to the giveaway pile, especially because it really is a giveaway pile. I don't know anyone, well, maybe I know one person locally that I could trade with, so that's an option, but you know what I mean, right? That's anyway. So if you're still with me, thank you. This was just me wanting to do a little Sunday ramble about some things, this, that, and the other, basically to just check in and keep the momentum going with the videos, right? Because I do enjoy this. It's for me, it's a very enjoyable creative outlet. I get to talk about my favorite subject, and then the best part is the interaction that occurs afterwards with the comments in the comment section, and watching your videos, reading your comments. Yeah, so that's like the best part. So I'd like to wish you all a wonderful week, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.